right. Let the flip work. YouTube, please. Okay, cool. Roger that. The flip is working. This is awesome. This is amazing. This is super cool. We'll get started here in a moment. As soon as my tablet tells me that it is 5:30 a.m., I realize that I've been starting at 5:29 instead of 5:30. Okay, it is now 5:30. Welcome to the Morning Mental Live, Morning Mental Workout. We're going to start by taking 3 deep breaths on your own. You're going to inhale and exhale 3 deep breaths. We are regulating the emotional center of our brains, allowing it to understand that we are getting ready to take in new information, allow some neurons to fire so they can wire, and we can begin to start to strengthen the principle of real leadership that I will be covering today. So starting right now, inhale and exhale 3 deep breaths. Ready, set, go. Hey there, it's me, Dr. Donna. Good morning. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today we are going to be discussing the principle of real leadership. It's number 25 in a chronological order. Keep your word. And as a reminder, according to Dr. Bing, the neurologist on TikTok, always hydrate when you are working out. And this is a mental workout. Your brain is 75% water. As a result, it needs water. If you slept and just woke up, you're dehydrated and you need to hydrate. And so start drinking water. And this was full, and then I've already been drinking water. It's my new sleep regimen. I wake up thirsty, and then the amount of work that I've done as well. And potentially today I could possibly finish the water before the live is over. Okay, so the Dr. Donna quote for keep your word is, if you say that you're going to do it, you better do it. That means if you say that you're going to do it, you better do it. Why? Because you are a walking billboard for all of your actions. Everything that you do, you are a walking billboard for those actions. So keep your word. And I always say, listen to what people do. This is going to bother me. Okay. Listen to what people do. People can say a lot, but it's actually, are they going to follow up and do what they said they were going to do? What does it mean to keep your word? To keep your word means the following. To keep your word means that you follow through on a promise, a commitment, or an agreement that you've made. Whether spoken or written, it reflects honesty, integrity, and reliability in your actions. And so that means that in practical terms, keeping your word means doing what you said you would. It's that simple. Do what you said. Good morning, Lola. Do what you said that you would do, even if it's inconvenient or difficult. Follow through without being reminded. If you said you're going to do something, then you need to do it. And nobody should have to remind you of what you said that you were going to do. Being consistent between your words and your actions. And so that goes back to me saying, listen to what people do. If you said, this is what I do, then what you do should be what you said you do. And then taking responsibility. So if you fail to meet your commitment, you need to make it right. That's what keeping your word means. In the event that you've promised to do something, you said you were going to be somewhere and you're not there, then it's on you. So here's the example. If you tell someone, I'll meet you at 3 p.m., then showing up on time is keeping your word. If you say, I'm going to get this done by Friday, then you need to deliver and get it done by Friday. It's really just that simple. And back in the day, you used to just shake a person's hand, give them your word, and that meant everything. And now that is not what is taking place in the world. It is absolutely not what is taking place at all. So why does keeping your word matter? Because it builds trust with others. And establish trust and be trustworthy is also one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So when you say, I'm going to do this, you have my word, and then you follow through, you are establishing trust with others. It also strengthens your reputation. If you become somebody that always keeps their word, then they say, oh, Dr. Donna said it, it's good as gold. You can take that to the bank and cash it. We used to say that back in the day. It also improves self-discipline and accountability. If you say you're going to do it, remember when I just said earlier, doing what you said that you would do, even when it's inconvenient or difficult. Waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going live every single day. And today is 639 consecutive days for me is not convenient. It's not simple. It is not rewarding every day, but I am 639 days into saying I go live every day. And then by January of 2024, it was at 5:30 a.m. So I've been going live at 5:30 a.m. for about 600 days, somewhere around there. Yeah, maybe about 580 days of 5:30 a.m. consecutively. I'll run the numbers and get back to y'all on that one. But it improves self-discipline and personal accountability. And because I made the choice to do that back in November of 2023, what has happened is I was able to come out as a nerd. I now have brain backgrounds, neuromobility. I'm in a neuroscience course. So I have benefited from it, but it has been challenging and inconvenient, especially if I don't get to sleep till 11 or 12 o'clock and now I'm back up again and I got to be alert and giving you information. If you think about it, even for those people who went to college, the most college professors teach is four classes, and that's usually math or science. But when you have psychology or you get into your major, you go to class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you go to class on Tuesday and Thursday. But 7 days a week, I'm actually giving a lecture 7 days a week, every single day at 5:30 in the morning. It becomes difficult, but it's that discipline and that personal accountability that keeps me here every day. Then finally, why it matters in keeping your word is that it boosts your self-respect and your confidence. I am more confident in speaking about the brain, the functionality of the brain today than I was 10 months ago, 10 months ago in October when I came out as a nerd, because I've been studying it every day for the last 10 months. So it's 270 days, somewhere around there. So if you study something, that synaptic connection that we know from Hebb's law is stronger. The neural pathways to understand how the brain functions is stronger, and so it boosts your confidence. So why does keeping your word matter? Because it builds trust with others, it strengthens your reputation, it improves self-discipline and accountability, and it boosts your self-respect and confidence. Now, we're going to get into the brain-based perspective of what happens neurologically when you keep your word or when you break it. But before I do that, what questions or comments do you have about the concept and the meaning of keeping your word? And if it is clear, let me know and I will move forward. No questions. Okay. So here are the brain-based perspectives on what happens neurologically when you keep your word and what happens when you break it. In this, I'm going to go with keeping your word first. So in the prefrontal cortex, the role is self-control, planning, decision-making, and aligning actions with values. So there's strong activity that supports your follow-through. Next is the anterior cingulate cortex. And this is conflict monitoring. It helps detect when you're tempted to break your word and correct your course. So in the event that there have been mornings when I'm like, I just don't have it this morning. I got to go live. That ACC is showing up and saying, yeah, remember you said you go live every day and you didn't tell people that you wouldn't be live today. So get your ass up and prepare and go live. Then the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex supports working memory and follow through on long-term commitments. 639 days is a long-term commitment. And so my dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and my working memory are saying, okay, you said I'm going live. You didn't say the date that you were going to sunset going live. So get up and go live. Next is the ventral striatum, and this is my reward center. So what happens is there's a release of dopamine when you keep your word. It reinforces trustworthy behavior. So at no point, or anybody that's been there have been 5 iterations of people who have been on my live, stayed moved on. I made them move on. So you are the fifth iteration in 639 days. And so what happens is that my reward system for being here, those people back then and you all trust that I'm going to be here every day. And I am reinforcing trustworthy behavior. I'm reinforcing the principle of real leadership, establish trust and be trustworthy, and to keep my word. But what happens is I'm benefiting too. And one of the principles of real leadership is provide coaching. And so, and not that I'm a coach, but coaching just gives you the information that you need to strengthen an area that you have an area for opportunity for growth. And so by coaching and providing you this information, I'm receiving my own dopamine boost because I'm learning more and more about the brain and it keeps me engaged. Additionally, lead by example. So I'm leading by example. And now you have an example that you can look at and go, okay, so I can use my brain. I can't get the 860 trillion synaptic connections because that's what Dr. Donna is working on. So it's this nice release. And then every time you ask me a question, I answer the question. And then there's this dopamine release. So in keeping my word to be here every day at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, there is a benefit to it. And then finally, the medial prefrontal cortex. It helps process your moral and ethical values, and it's important when honoring your commitments. So, from a moral perspective, I say it, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep my word, regardless of what anybody else is doing. And that's why personal accountability is so important, especially, good morning, Regina, especially in today's times where you can change your mind like you change your underwear. Yes, ma'am. So you can change your mind like you can change your underwear. Hopefully you're doing that daily at a minimum. But the point is, oh no, I changed my mind. I didn't. Oh no, no, no. And you're going to get, I'm about to get to what happens when you break your word. So keeping your word, especially now in 2025, is something that's almost, it's like a dying art, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. We just really don't see them. Where you get that at? Walmart? No. So the result is you feel pride, trust, and confidence, and you build stronger neural pathways for integrity and reliability. I'm going to say that again. You feel pride, trust, and confidence, and you build stronger neural pathways for integrity and reliability when you keep your word. Now, when you break your word, here's what's happening neurologically. The amygdala, always at the scene of the crime when you're trying to avoid something, stop something, or don't do something that you need to be doing. That doggone amygdala is right there. You could just go to it and say, okay, where's the amygdala at? Because this is wrong. So the amygdala was the culprit. It triggers emotional discomfort, anxiety, guilt, or shame when you break your word. That's what's happening. Now, if you are a liar, then the amygdala already took the guardrails off and it don't really bother you. But if you still have some integrity inside of you, now you have this emotional discomfort, this anxiety, this guilt or shame. Now in the insular cortex, it processes feelings of disgust. Yep. And sometimes it's felt when you violate your own values. You told somebody you was going to be there at 3:00 and you didn't show up, you didn't call, you didn't text, you didn't send an email or nothing. And now they over there waiting on you. You said you was bringing something, you didn't. You said that you was going to donate some time, some money, some resources or something, and you didn't. Yeah. Now you feel disgusted with yourself, as you should. Then the ACC detects the internal conflict between your intention and your action. And then the default mode network comes along and may be overactive with rumination, regret, or self-criticism afterwards. So now you're sitting somewhere feeling bad. We've seen it in the movies all the time. A parent was supposed to show up, nobody believes in them, and because they ain't never showed up, they don't show up, and now they at the bar. Yeah, I'm supposed to be on. They feeling all bad and terrible, but they still won't go make the wrong right. So they're not going to apologize when they're wrong, which is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and go take care of it. They're just going to ruminate and sit somewhere and just be beating themselves up. Now, the result of this is that you may experience cognitive dissonance. And what cognitive dissonance is mental discomfort that results from holding two conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. You gave your word and then you didn't show up. So now you're like, well, shoot, I gave my word, but I didn't show up. And now, what am I going to do? So it leads to stress or avoidance. And unless it's repaired by owning and correcting the behavior. So the cognitive dissonance can be there, but you can correct the behavior. You can actually go and say, hey, my bad. I ain't feel like it. I was scared. I needed my money for something else. I didn't want to use it, but I took a nap. But whatever the reason is why you didn't keep your word, you got to go back and tell the people why you didn't keep your word, and that will eliminate the cognitive dissonance. But what happens instead is you start making excuses. Well, I'm always helping so many people. I just needed a break. It was time, 3 o'clock every time. I mean, most of the 90% of the time I do keep my word. So now you're going back and forth and trying to rationalize it within your own self because you don't want to make it seem like you're a person that doesn't keep your word, but you actually could be. So you got to own that. So the brain-based benefits. So what questions do you have about the regions of the brain that are used when you keep your word and the regions of the brain that are used when you don't keep your word, and what actually takes place neurologically? Now, as you decide to say it's clear or not clear, ask questions. Here's the thing. What I am finding out is that everything you do is neurological. And I'm saying it and I've been saying it, but literally everything that you do is neurological. And there is a good neurological reason for doing it, and there is a bad neurological reason for doing it. And your brain will literally go back and forth. And because of the basal ganglia, it will be a habit. And now there is something, yes, I can summarize, Nola. There is something that's taking place every day, all day long. So here is the summary. Let me say the benefits first, and then I'll summarize. So here are the benefits of keeping your word. It strengthens the executive function. It strengthens your executive function when you keep your word. And that's for planning and impulse control, because you said you're going to do it, and you're going to do it. Next, it enhances social trust circuits and reward anticipation. Next, it reinforces identity circuits like honor, respect, and self-accountability. And it builds long-term neuroplasticity for goal-directed behavior. So what happens is when you keep your word, you have these neurological benefits. And when you don't keep your word, you have this cognitive dissonance. So you let yourself down and you let other people down. And as a result, you feel bad, they feel bad, but you don't say anything. But when you keep your word and you're following the 74 principles of real leadership, even if you don't keep your word, you're going to apologize when you're wrong. And that's going to still give you the benefit of keeping your integrity intact. It's going to give you the benefit of having honor and being trustworthy in all situations. So you need to keep your word because of the neurological benefits. You're going to have that strengthened prefrontal cortex, or the executive function of your brain. You're going to strengthen neuroplasticity by keeping your word. So once again, one of the 74 principles of real leadership that just seems like, so I said I was going to be there at 3. I showed up at 5 and I didn't call. What's the big deal? The big deal is the circuitry that you're creating. So you could strengthen your honor and your integrity and your loyalty and your trustworthiness by keeping your word, or calling and saying, I'm going to be late. I apologize. Traffic jam. Plane didn't land on time. Something to that effect. Now you're still keeping your word and you don't have the cognitive dissonance. But if you say I'm going to be there at 3, you show up at 6, everybody's mad. And then you're like, what's the big deal? I'm here. That's that cognitive dissonance that's saying, well, I'm here, so why are y'all mad? I did keep my word. I showed up. Now you're trying to rationalize it, and you can't rationalize not keeping your word. So when you decide not to keep your word, you're going to feel bad. And if you do it enough, you're not going to feel bad, because the amygdala is going to be like, look, don't feel bad. The guardrails are down. That's just who you are. So then you become the person known as the person that doesn't keep their word. And now you're like, well, don't nobody trust me, and don't nobody believe I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. Well, you got a track record of not doing what you said you were gonna do. So that's why don't nobody believe it, because they got receipts. So start keeping your word and build up those brain regions that allow you to keep your word. So prefrontal cortex, the ACC, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the ventral striatum, and your medial prefrontal cortex. That's what's going to help you keep your word. Let me know if it's clear for you, Nola, or if I need to continue to expand on the current point. And I can switch it for the graphic. Hopefully YouTube don't kick me out, but the graphic is at the bottom. So if you look at the graphic at the bottom, on the left side is when you keep your word, And on the right side is when you break your word. Okay. All right, next. So, what does Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers say about keeping your word? Lola, I'm glad you asked. Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers emphasizes, okay, Nola, you have something else. 1 second. I will drink water. That was a lot. That's why I had to drink water. I'm going to go ahead, Nola, and then I'll stop when I see your answer, your question. Oh, here it is. So when you keep your word, it's all the logical parts. When you don't keep it, it's all the emotional parts. Yes, ma'am. Pretty much. Yep. That's a great way to look at it. So yeah, because you when you said it, you were in your prefrontal cortex. You were logically saying it, and I'll get into that in a moment. What to do when you can't keep your word, or to ensure you do keep it. How do you say yes and no? So the question is, what does Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers say about keeping your word? Lola, I'm glad you asked the question. Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers emphasizes that keeping your word is central to personal accountability and real leadership. I'm going to say that again. I said that keeping your word is central to personal accountability and real leadership. So, in her own words, refraining from following through, like promising you'll call someone right back and then not doing so, is a clear example of not keeping your word. So, I underscore that failing to follow through, even with something seemingly small, makes you unaccountable. If you tell somebody you're going to call them right back, I think this is amazing that chat took this from my LinkedIn. And you said you're going to call somebody back and you don't, you're not keeping your word. Something as simple as I'm going to call you right back, right back. So right back, not 3 days later, not 6 hours later, I'm going to call you right back. I've been on the receiving end of that more times than I care to count. That makes you unaccountable and you are not keeping your word. So here are some key points from Dr. Thomas-Rodgers, yours truly. I frame keeping your word as the cornerstone of personal accountability. Not honoring your promise, even in minor situations, signals a lack of integrity. Even in small situations, I'm going to call you right back. Something that insignificant. How you go? What does that all mean? Not the people say that all the time, and people are wrong all the time. That's not keeping your word. No. I can keep my word on big shit. If I tell you I'm going to give you $10,000, donate to your charity, then I'm good. But if I tell you I'm going to be there at 3 and I show up at 7, what's the big deal? You didn't keep your word. They are one and the same. One and the same. So not honoring your promise. Yes. Okay. So among my leadership principles, here's what I say. The number one principle of real leadership is hold yourself and others personally accountable. This is what chat brought into the chat. It's already on the internet because chat told me that this is what I said. It's right here in my notes. The number one principle of real leadership is hold yourself and others personally accountable. Keeping your word is one of the clearest ways to demonstrate that accountability. Keeping your word. Okay, keeping your word. I think I'm going to make keeping your word number 2 right after hold yourself and others personally accountable. So why does this matter? I'm glad you asked, Regina. Even though you're driving, I'm glad you asked. Keeping your word builds trust and establishes your reputation for reliability. It establishes you as a trustworthy person. And it creates consistency between what you say and what you do. I said that at the beginning of the live. Listen to what people do. I don't give a fuck what you're saying. I'm going to watch what you do. I'm going to watch your behaviors. I know what you said, but let's see if your actions match the words coming out of your mouth. Across all levels of your personal and professional life. I'm going to say that again. It creates consistency between what you say and what you do across all levels of your personal and professional life. Because here's what a lot of people do. Oh, you good at work. You gonna keep, yeah, we can count on you to do everything. And then at the same time, you ain't keeping that and their word to your family and friends. We see it all the time in movies, we see it on television, and we see it playing out. And we may be the family and friends that you're not keeping your word to. So the job, the business, the profession can depend on you all the damn time. But then everybody else that knows you, who's supposed to be around your bedside when you die, can't. She said 6. That means 9. He said 12. He ain't coming. And that's what's happening. But you want everybody to understand that this other thing is so important to you and that the other people have to be put on the back burner. So stop breaking promises to those people, because that's unaccountable too. That means that you are not keeping your word consistently. So you don't, or you keep your word to everything, the family, the job gotta wait, the business gotta wait. Ain't nothing more important than my kids. I don't care what's happening. My spouse is the most important person in the world to me. I am here. No, you either keep your word or you don't. It's really just that simple. You either keep your word or you don't. No in between. You do or you don't. Okay? That's like being slightly pregnant. You either are or you ain't. So keep it or don't keep it. But don't act like one is more important than the other. Your word is the most important thing that you have. I say it all the time. And Scarface is one of my favorite movies. He said, all I got in this world is my word and I don't break them for nobody. And that's the way I see that. If I give you my word, you got my word. If I tell you no, then I mean no. That's how it goes. So the bottom line is this. Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers is uncompromising in calling small failures to deliver on your word out as unaccountable behaviors. Okay? Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers is uncompromising in calling even small failures to deliver your word out as unaccountable behavior. So that's on the internet now. The world knows. That's how I see that. And not just me telling you. That's what Chat and gathered from the internet to tell you too. So I believe that real leadership starts with the discipline to do what you say you will do, no exceptions. In my notes, no exceptions. Okay? No exceptions. I'm uncompromising on it. You gave me your word and if you didn't do it, you're unaccountable. You said you was going to do it and you didn't, you're unaccountable. Point blank, period. There is no exception. No exception for it. Okay. So what questions do you have about Dr. Donna's take on what she says about keeping your word? Any questions or is it clear? I thought that was so wonderful. I was just playing with chat. So let's see what Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers has to say about keeping your word. Because it is, lying to me, not keeping your word. You will have a problem with me. You might see Dee Dee from the D. This topic is about keeping your word. It's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. I teach adults how to use their brain to become bad mofos. So is it clear on Dr. Donna's perspective when it comes to keeping your word? Okay. So here are some examples and insights from Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers on how to build consistent accountability habits, especially around keeping your word. Number 1, follow through immediately. Nola can tell y'all that. Probably gets on her damn nerves at the expeditious manner in which I expect follow through. If you say, I'll call you right back, then actually call right back. If you say that, if you say, I'm going to talk to you later is sometime in the future. If you say, I'm going to talk to you next week, got it. But if you say, I'm going to call you right back, I'm going to be there at 3:00. We're going to meet for breakfast on Saturday at 8:30 in the morning. If you say that, then that better be exactly what you're going to do. And so when you follow through immediately, here's what this builds. It's immediate follow through trains your brain's prefrontal cortex for discipline, and it strengthens your identity as accountable. I'm going to say that again. When you immediately follow through, it trains your brain's prefrontal cortex for discipline, and it strengthens your identity as being accountable. And here's the tip. You can use micro promises to rewire your brain. So start with small commitments and practice being flawless with your follow through. So you can say something like, I'm going down to the kitchen to get a snack. I'll be right back. Go down to the kitchen, get a snack, and then be right back. You can say, I'm going to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So you don't have to say, I'm going to cure world hunger. And now I'm going to cure world hunger. And then you can't do that. So don't do that. Just keep your word. If you have a barbershop or beauty salon appointment, a nail appointment, anything, a doctor's appointment, and they tell you to arrive 15 minutes early and you 15 minutes late every time, well, they're not going to see me on time anyway. But that's not the point. The point is you said, I'm going to be there 15 minutes ahead. And you have to be there. If you're going to meet someone for coffee, tea, whatever, drinks, after work, whatever it is, be early. And be shocked. Everybody be like, "Ooh, what? Sheila just showed up 15 minutes early. She beat us there. She got the table first." So start small. If you're going to meet somebody to work out, exercise. If somebody says, I need to talk to you, you say, give me 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, be ready to talk to them. That's how that goes. Okay. Number 2, don't overpromise, because that's the problem. You're overpromising. So when you overcommit, you set yourself up to break your word. If you are afraid to say these 2 amazing letters that work perfect together like peanut butter and jelly, N-O, you end up not keeping your word because you're too afraid to say no. But Real Leader Math says say no 9 out of 10 times. So if you're telling people no 9 out of 10 times, the one time you say yes, you ought to be able to keep that one yes. That's how that goes. Because what's happening is every time you say yes to them, you're saying no to you. But every time you say no to them, you're saying yes to you. So if you're only saying yes one time, you can commit to that one yes, because the other 9 times you said no, which meant everything that you needed to take care of, you took care of. But if you constantly are saying yes, 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 you're not going to be able to keep all those yeses. I ain't never met somebody that can keep 10 out of 10 yeses, and not even me. That's a lot. 10 people ask you to do something. It's only 17 to 18 hours of awake time in the day. And now you got 10 people expecting something from you on today, August 5th, 2025. That's not going to work. So you are over committing, over promising, and under delivering. So what it builds is respect for your time and energy and realism in your leadership. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. I got to take a nap. Back in the day, especially when I was in the military, I'm like, I'm not coming, I'm asleep. I'm about to be asleep. People would know. Leave a message on my answer machine. That's how you know how long ago it was. And they would leave a message, be like, you probably sleep. I know you sleep, but when you wake up, because people knew she's asleep. She is asleep. Don't call her. What time? 9 o'clock, she's asleep. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, she's taking a nap. Well, I know you would sleep. Yep, exactly. Now, what is it that you need? Because I'm not going to not sleep for you unless it's life or death. So the tip in not overcommitting or overpromising is that here's what you can do. Replacing your I'll try with I will only when you're certain. And if you are uncertain, be honest. And be honest is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And you'll say, I'll let you know by, and then give a specific time. If someone says, hey, we're having a charity event in October, we want you to be the keynote speaker. October what? October 13th. I'm going to let you know by the end of this week. I'm going to let you know by next Monday at 4 p.m. I'm going to follow up with you. That gives you enough time to book somebody else. I'm going to let you know, and then let them know if it's yes or no. But even in that moment, if you know it's no, I'm not going to be there. No, that doesn't work. And then if people start asking you to attend bullshit, you can start saying this. I won't be there because that doesn't benefit my brain. I won't be there. I won't be coming. I won't be attending. I'm not participating because that does not benefit my brain. Now, that's going to throw everybody for a loop, but that's on them. That's not on you. So that doesn't benefit my brain. So my answer is no. And it's always no. If somebody want to pressure you, the answer is no. If you give me time to think about it, it might not be no, but if you need an answer right now, it's no. I haven't used all my no's yet, or I already used my one yes, so everything else is a no. Okay. And this is a tip as well. So here's how you can ensure. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Here we go. Okay. Number 3, write it down or confirm it. Write it down or confirm it. Document your commitments. Accountability is easier when you can track your promises. Now, when my daughter first started on TaskRabbit, there would be times in the app when she didn't get people to confirm and they would cancel, and she would not get her 1 hour rate for canceling in less than 24 hours. So she learned very quickly, or not very quickly, but she learned If it's confirmed, you can go ahead and cancel it if you want within less than 24 hours, but you booked it and now you got to pay a cancellation fee. That happens at doctor's offices and everywhere else. So confirm it. Write it down and confirm it. Now, what this builds is an external system, notes or reminders to reinforce your internal accountability. Now, the tip is that you can use daily accountability journaling or an app. Did I do what I said I would do today? And so for me, I text myself. I got a bunch of post-its. My daughter uses reminders to do it. But if you set it and it's on the calendar and you check your calendar every day before you start your day, what are my commitments for the day? Now you know exactly what it is that you're going to be doing, and you confirmed it. It's real. They know, you know, and now, and if they committed and then they're not there, then you hold them accountable to say you didn't keep your word, so you must be overcommitting. So that's how personal accountability works. Number 4, you want to check your intentions. Personal accountability means owning your behavior. Personal accountability means owning your behavior. And the caveat to that, or the part B to this verse, is without blaming or justifying broken promises. Personal accountability is being personally accountable for all that you do and all that you fail to do. So you don't get to be blaming everybody else because you didn't keep your word. Now, what this builds is internal integrity and emotional maturity. Emotional maturity. And the only way you get to emotional maturity is through emotional regulation, and you don't let the amygdala, left or right, run your brain. Your prefrontal cortex has to be in charge in order for you to achieve emotional regulation and emotional maturity. So the tip is, before you say yes to anything, pause and ask, can I realistically commit to this, and will I follow through? Pause. Don't say yes. Pause and ask yourself, can I realistically commit to this, and will I follow through? And if you hear no, then your answer has to be no. It has to be no. Because if you say yes and you don't keep your word, you're going to go back to, and hopefully I can turn this around, the right side of this graphic. When you break your word, here is all the things that take place: disgust and rumination and emotional discomfort. And then you have cognitive dissonance. It's a self-inflicted neurological breakdown because you said yes when you didn't pause to check to see if you was even going to be able to do it. So I get it. Unaccountable people are quite slick. They like pimps at the bus stop. You know what I'm saying? They there talking slick shit, and they really making it seem like they need you. You're the only person in the world that can get it done, and all that woo woo poo poo poo. No, absolutely not. They could do it. They got to ask yourself, can this person do what they asking me to do? And if they can, the answer is no. Why you need me to do it when you fully functioning, able-bodied, and you can do it yourself? Because that means that they just trying to put their growth opportunities and their stuff on you. So I get that. That's why you protect the no. No, no. My answer is no. Let me sleep on it is another thing that I do. I'm going to sleep on it, and I will let you know tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm going to sleep on it. But right now, again, my answer is no. So do not allow unaccountable people to force you into overcommitting because they won't hold the people in their lives. Well, can't nobody else pick me up. And I know everybody in the house got a car, but they sleep late. And I like to get to the grocery store at 9 a.m. No, you ain't getting to the grocery store at 9 a.m. You better have somebody deliver them damn groceries. I'm not going to be, I live across town. You got me picking you up to carry you to the doggone doctor appointment. That's on you and the people, the other adults that live in your house. Your other people, your other employees. You're an employer and you keep asking the same person over and over and over and over and over again because you got some Chris Henrys in the group. No, absolutely not. Do not allow people to make you overcommit either. Now, number 5, align your words with your identity. Okay. I had somebody a couple weeks ago say, does your online persona match your offline life? Okay. Does it match? And people were saying yes. And the person was saying, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And it does. If y'all met me in person, this is who I am. I might even be a little bit more animated, but I'm definitely this person. So align your words with your identity. The most powerful leader is the one who holds themselves to the highest standard. Now, why did Chat say this? Because set and maintain high standards is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. So Chat, no, I don't mess around. Now, what this builds is consistency between identity, behavior, and brain circuitry. So especially in the medial prefrontal cortex, the seat of values. So when you are saying, I am who I say I am. I set and maintain high standards. I'm a thermostat and not a thermometer. Now you actually are who you say you are. And by declaring your identity, I am someone who keeps my word. And that's me. That's real deal Holyfield, 10 toes down. I'm somebody that keeps their word. Then behave in an alignment with it, starting with the small task. Starting with the small task. Starting with the small task. Okay. So what questions do you have about, and I lost my train of thought. Thank you, perimenopause. The accountability habits about keeping your word. What questions do you have about the 5? And I will review them again. You're going to follow through immediately. Don't overpromise. Write it down and confirm it. Check your intentions and align your words with your identity. Because I'm coming around third to talk about the daily checklist on how to keep your word and train your brain. So if it is clear, I will move forward. Okay, so here is your daily checklist. Here is your daily checklist. No Q is no questions. All right. And this is also, if you look, hopefully I don't get kicked out. If you look in the top left-hand corner, that's also what the checklist looks like. And if you go to the beginning of this live when it's over, you can screenshot that because I leave it up there in the front with no comments or anything else. So here is the habit. Did I do what I said I would do? Did I do what I said I would do today? And the brain region that's activated is the prefrontal cortex. And it builds your executive function and self-discipline. So you're going to ask yourself that. These are habits to keep your word and train your brain to keep your word. Next, did I write down my commitments for the day? And sometimes you can keep it. I know it's digital. I'm old school, but you can write it down. You can put it in your phone. You can put it on your calendar. Leave it in the doggone cloud. But what that does is the brain region that's activated is the hippocampus, and it strengthens memory recall and task recall. Next is, did I follow through immediately on any micro promises? And that means, did you say I'm gonna call you right back? And did you do it? And again, that's in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And what that does is that reinforces integrity and reliability pathways. And all of these things are creating their own neural pathway for you to be able to do these things. So these are individual neural pathways, and they just happen to reside in the prefrontal cortex in the areas of the brains that I'm mentioning. Okay. Yeah. So did I follow through on my immediates? Next, did I avoid overpromising today? Did I avoid overpromising today? And that happens in the anterior cingulate cortex. And what this does is it reduces internal conflict and stress. So did I avoid it? Did I? Did I avoid it? Did I avoid overcompromising today? Now, next is, did I hold myself accountable without blaming others? And that happens in the medial prefrontal cortex. And what it does is it anchors your values, your ownership, and your identity. So did I hold myself accountable without blaming others? Well, I would have kept my word, but, and then if they hadn't, and then because of this, so did you not do that? Because if you did that, then then the emotional side of the brain, as Nola mentioned, and that's you not keeping your word. And then the cognitive dissonance is allowing you to justify why you didn't keep your word. So don't do that. Ask yourself, did I hold myself accountable without blaming others? Next is, did I correct miscommitments instead of ignoring it? So in the event that you missed an appointment, you missed a reminder, you didn't send an email, you didn't call the person back, you didn't show up, did you correct yourself? And this is going to be big for you because it's going to happen in the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex. And what this does is it regulates discomfort and models emotional maturity. So if you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it, now you have to do the principle of real leadership, which is apologize when you are wrong. And as a result of that, Now you're going to create that emotional regulation and that emotional maturity. And then you will start keeping your word because you don't want to be wrong and you want to strengthen your integrity. Next is, did I pause before saying yes to ensure I could follow through? And I would say, of everything, this is the most important one because that yes says commitment. A verbal or a written yes is a contract, a verbal contract or a written contract. And you are saying yes, you are committing to this thing. So don't just say yes. Protect your yeses. Your yeses are extremely valuable. So protect the yes. Don't use your yeses all willy-nilly and just passing them out like they're samples at Costco's. 9 out of 10 times you need to be saying no. 1 out of 10 times you need to be saying yes. And what this is, the brain region for this is the orbital frontal cortex, and it supports thoughtful decision making. So you're going to pause, and that pause regulates the amygdala, the limbic system, and it doesn't release the cortisol to the frontal lobe, causing brain fog because you paused. And in that pause, that gives you enough time to check in with your prefrontal cortex, check in with your existing schedule, and say, okay, yes, I can do that. No, I can't. And then finally, did I reflect on one promise I kept and why it mattered? So you get to the end of the day, did I actually keep that promise, and why was that promise important? And what happens is this takes place in the ventral striatum, and it's the reward system. That is where all of your dopamine is coming from for the things that you do. Your naturally produced dopamine. Well, not all of it, but a portion of it. And it reinforces positive emotions tied to accountability. Now, what happens is you start strengthening your personal accountability neural pathway, and then it starts filtering out to other parts of the 74 principles of real leadership, the other 73. And because you are doing those consistently throughout the day, you are going to get this natural release of dopamine. This reward system, this nucleus accumbens, and this ventral striatum are going to keep saying, hey, you're doing good, you're doing good. And then that momentum is going to empower you to keep doing it. And that's why I'm able to do what I do, because I'm getting this natural, sustainable release of dopamine all day long, because I live, eat, and breathe the 74 principles of real leadership. And that's what this is going to start doing for you. And what you'll find is, and I'll use this biological example, I gave up added sugar in November of 2023. And I went through a horrible, oh my God, I was addicted to it and caffeine. Terrible. I was depressed for the first 2 weeks. It took 30 days for it to really get out of my system. I was crying, everything. I'm like, this motherfucking sugar is, they talking about that sugar is a drug, and so is caffeine. And I recommend don't do both of them in the same day. But I'm like, I'm a soldier, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm done. I recommend going half calf, decaf, but lower the amount, reduce the amount, eliminate it slowly. Definitely don't do it all in the same day. And I did. And what happened was, I used to go to 7-Eleven, grab a coffee, throw some doggone sugar in there with the creamer, get those powdered ass sugary donuts every day. And then I think I went a whole year or 6 months. Nola will correct me. And I went back and got those donuts again and threw them away. I bit it, and you could literally taste the manufacturedness in it. And now I can taste it and everything. And so what happens is, when you start producing your own dopamine, you can actually taste the difference and feel the difference between internally, naturally produced dopamine and externally produced dopamine. So instead of scrolling on TikTok, I watch my neuroscience class, and I'm on chat, and I'm studying the brain. So not only am I getting smart about a nanosecond, I have this natural release, and I'm regulating my emotional center. So I'm not on TikTok mad as hell because they said this, and mad as hell. So this external anxiety that's taking place that I'm absorbing, that's manufactured sugar. So that manufactured dopamine, you think you need it, and then you got to go through detox, and then you go, oh, wait a minute. I have 86 billion neurons, so I can create my own dopamine. I can create my own neurotransmitter synaptic connections just by connecting my own pathways. So I don't need added sugar. I don't need coffee with caffeine in it. This coffee right here is Nescafe instant decaf coffee. And I don't have caffeine anymore. And if you don't have people at my daughter's appointments will say, do you want coffee? And I'll say, do you have decaf? They'll say no. And I'll say, no, I don't need it. You had tea, decaf. So it is starting the fire wire. Look up Hebb's Law. the fire wiring of the connectivity for you to stop having to need an external stimuli for your dopamine. You can produce it yourself. And now, Shiratori, if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. I still remember it to this day. I wasn't able to keep my promise to a patient back during a clinical duty 2 years ago. Guilty of doing that as well. Yes. And so if you can't keep your promise, don't do it. Don't overpromise no matter what. And so the neural insights to this is each time you keep your word and reflect on it, you strengthen your neural circuitry of trust, follow through, and your own identity. You become a person that keeps your word. So you're literally rewiring your brain to become someone who naturally does what they say. That's what this is about. You naturally are someone who keeps your word. So before we go into the brain bit, what questions do you have about keeping your word, Dr. Donna's perspective on it as a principle of real leadership, and why it's so important to you neurologically to keep your word? Lola said no questions. I got all the way out of Gmail. Okay, no questions. All right, we got today's brain bit. We talked about it briefly yesterday. Emotionally flat. And that is the graphic. I'm going to flip this again. Hopefully YouTube don't kick me out. But this graphic on the right top is the infographic for this. It's emotionally flat. And so again, as I mentioned, you can go back to the beginning of the live once it's up on YouTube and screenshot it. And these, again, we're starting to put this information on the Real Leader Brain Instagram page. So some of this will appear there. So here's the brain fact for emotionally flat state. An emotionally flat state is when you feel numb, disconnected, or indifferent. It's often linked to reduced activity in the limbic system, and that's the emotional system of the brain, the nervous system as well. It's all part of the nervous system, but it's the emotional center, especially the amygdala, the anterior cingulate cortex, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These regions regulate emotional experience, empathy, and mood. So the amygdala, left and right, ACC, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. And so here's what's taking place. Emotionally flat state isn't laziness. It's a brain signal. So if you just are like, yeah, I don't feel shit, that's not the brain being lazy. It's the brain signaling to you. So if you're feeling emotionally flat, numb, or disconnected, you are not broken. Your brain is actually protecting you. So when the amygdala, the ACC, and the prefrontal cortex regions go offline due to chronic stress, trauma, or burnout, your emotions may shut down to conserve energy and reduce pain. This is the brain's emergency mode, not your identity. So it is like, this is too much. People say, I need a mental health day. Oh my God, I can't take this anymore. I'm in a fetal position in the corner somewhere, rocking back and forth because it's just becoming too much for you. Your brain is saying, fuck this, shut up, shut it down, shut it down. And so it's not about weakness, it's neurobiological. So here is what you can do to reset it. If you ever find yourself being emotionally flat, move your body, exercise, get something going, get some cardio going, some walking, some everything. Move your body. Is it kind of like zoning out? Yes. It's just like, yeah, fuck this. So you feel nothing. You actually feel nothing. You feel numb and disconnected from everything. That is your body, your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala and your ACC protecting you. So it's saying, I can't take anything else in right now. I got to shut down because all of this is a problem. And so it actually happens basically from external anxiety, which is the world around you trying to hijack your amygdala all damn day long. So you have to start to move your body. And then you want to connect with someone even briefly. If you just simply go, and what I do is I go on Threads. Threads is like the least evasive social media platform because most people just talking back and forth. And you could just go on Threads and answer somebody's question. You can go on my Instagram channel. All my stuff is private now, but there's 15,800 other posts that you can interact with. But there's always something happening on one of my social media platforms. So you can go on Instagram or YouTube somewhere. I post every day on all, and just connect briefly with someone. Go to the store, say good morning, talk to your neighbor. Unless they toxic, don't talk to them. But just have a simple conversation with the cashier at the store. Hey, how you doing? How's your day today? Okay, cool, got it. And then you're going to try something new, because what's happening is everything around you right now isn't new. And it's like, this is too much. And it happened to me at Frito-Lay, which is why I had to quit and redirect the whole trajectory of my life, which is how I ended up here. That was 15 years ago. So you want to try something new. Do some painting. Download a graphic design app. Download Elevate or Luminosity, Duolingo, and just do something that you've not done before to get the brain started in a different direction. So something that you're unfamiliar with. Don't pick up something that you were good at and you're not, and then you stop. Do something totally different. And then feel awe. So you want to experience music and nature and art. For us here, and I don't know how it is at other libraries, but every library has a gallery. Sometimes it's back to school stuff with kids. Sometimes it's a big art exhibit, depending on the size of the library. And so we'll just go look at art. I'm so grateful I live in Las Vegas. I'll just look at the mountains. I can open my window, look at the mountains, go on a drive, and you can just see something that you've never seen before. Go sit outside and be with nature and literally ground your feet on the grass. We got desert landscaping here, so we can cut your toes. So we can't do that. Have to put some shoes on, but just go where there's a waterfall and just look at something calming and soothing to reignite yourself, to get you back out of this very flat state. And then also, we talked about gratitude yesterday. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And then in addition to that, you can visualize the gratitude, and then you can just sit in it and just go, this is why I'm grateful. Because say thank you was the principle of real leadership yesterday. And the reason why you can't say thank you is because you're not grateful. So they're linked. So when you can find something grateful, and I just like to add in this moment that gratitude is not being grateful because you have more than somebody else. That's some bullshit that unaccountable people make. Gratitude is you are at a light, a G-Wagon fully loaded pulls up, you are in your Ford Bronco, and somebody is on the side of you on an electric bike. So you don't get to say, well, I might not be in a G-Wagon, but at least I ain't on an electric bike. No, that's envy. Okay. Gratitude is I'm in my Ford Bronco and they're in their G-Wagon, and I don't feel like my Ford Bronco is an inferior SUV because they're in a G-Wagon. That's actual gratitude. Grateful for what you have, not because the other way around is superiority and inferiority complex. So the person in the G-Wagon is like, yep, I'm the shit because I ain't in a Bronco. And the person in the Bronco is like, well, I'm in a Bronco. I ain't on a bike. And the person on the bike is like, I'm on a bike. I ain't at the bus stop. That's not how that works, okay? That's superiority and inferiority complex, again, invented by unaccountable people. So gratitude is, I am grateful for what I have. My fully functioning Ford Bronco that I can get from point A to point B. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my LPCs, those low performance carriers. Those are your feet, because they can walk you to and through. So that is what real gratitude is for. And I'm grateful, and it took me years. I have alopecia. My whole head is bald. Got a little bit, I look like Homie the Clown if I ever let my hair grow out, but I shave every Monday. I'm grateful that I don't have hair. And the reason why is because I don't have, from what I hear, these hairstylists is basically robbing y'all blind. So I don't have that problem. If I have a bad hair day, I don't like my hair no more. I got a wig right now that I use for my daughter's business. It's on its way out. I throw it in the trash, $30, $40, boom, new hairstyle. So at first it felt like a curse, but now it's a blessing. I'm like, come home, I ain't got to worry about perm, color, gray hair, shampoo, conditioner, dry in the desert, grease, activated, none of that. I'm good. So I am so grateful for alopecia, 1000%. You could have told me how much of a blessing this was going to be at 19 when my hair started falling out. So be sincerely grateful. 3 things that you're grateful for. And then, as we mentioned yesterday, you can go volunteer, you can be of service. And what's happening is, what you want to do is produce your own natural dopamine. So you don't want an external source, because the external anxiety is what put your ass in a fetal position anyway. So when you produce it yourself, be a thermostat, not a thermometer, is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. You have the ability to set the temperature for your life. And so you can say, I'm emotionally flat right now, but I'm about to not be, because I'm going to produce my own dopamine. I'm going to get my own reward, serotonin and oxytocin myself. That's what that's about. So every small action reboots your emotional circuits. You're not emotionless, you're recharging. So just think about your phone, your tablet or computer. The battery gets down low, and what do you have to do? You have to plug it into a power source. So you are going to plug yourself into yourself. You are your own power source, and by doing these things, you are going to give yourself the natural boost to recharge and get yourself back from being emotionally flat to emotionally regulated. And then at one point in your life, hopefully before you go, you will be emotionally mature. So what questions do you have about being emotionally flat and what you can do to get back to emotional regulation? And we are at third, fourth, basically coming into home, running through third to slide into home. So the two questions on the table today are that are always there every day is, what did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? It's bothering me. Voila. And again, if you're answering the question, type of ellipse, a brain, thinking emoji, something, so that I know that you are still here, ready to answer the question. And I know I'm going to receive two answers. Oh, here's three. I learned being accountable improves your emotional and mental state. The only thing that I would add to that is personal accountability. So it's being personally accountable. So when you're accountable, you do things like pay your bills on time, stay out of jail, don't break the law. That puts you at 70%. Personal accountability is that other 30%, because be the best is the ultimate goal of holding yourself personally accountable. So when someone is accountable, they do credit and blame. If it goes well, they take credit. If it doesn't go well, they blame somebody. But personal accountability says I'm accountable and responsible for all that I do and all that I fail to do. So that's the next level of being on your way to being self-actualized according to, or self-aware according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So just add that personal accountability. That's what I teach adults. I teach adults how the brain functions, how to use that functionality to hold yourself personally accountable to the 74 principles of real leadership. I call it neuroprobability, in order to wire your brain to be able to create unlimited neural pathways. So you have 86 billion neurons. Each neuron has the potential to create 10,000 synaptic connections. That puts you at 860 trillion synaptic connections, which means you could be a bad mofo like me. Not me, but a bad mofo too. And then Lola and Nola, if you all have typed your answers, it's not showing up. Okay. Well, that's awesome. And there are no coincidences, rule number 38, according to NCIS Gibbs. So if you were looking for a sign, here it is. Here I go. Hence, my brain is 95% song lyrics. What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? I learned this yesterday, and I learned that I started doing things on the internet soon to be 12 years ago for myself, 12 years ago, and it is now falling into place. So because of the thousands and thousands and thousands of postings that I have throughout the internet, ChatGPT is able to gather that information in a logical format and allow me to present my information to you when I deem it fit, and allow you to see that the connections are neurological as well. Because you could think that something is connected neurologically, but now I know for certain that it is quite true. Noah says, I learned about myself. Don't make a promise you can't keep. Yes, no is the answer. You do that real leader math 9 out of 10 times, no, you are never going to overpromise. Do not allow unaccountable people to force you into a yes. If your gut and your gut brain, you have three brains: head brain, heart brain, and gut brain. And the gut brain sends 400 messages a day to the head brain, one-way communication. So if your gut is telling you to say no, say no. And no is a complete sentence. And I haven't said this in a minute, but when you tell somebody yes, no one questions your yes. As soon as you tell somebody no, now you got to explain your no. Why? They're both, if a yes completes the answer, then a no completes the answer. They're both complete sentences, and don't let people have you second guessing and questioning and justifying your no. No is a complete sentence and it needs no explanation. All right, Lola, you said, I learned if you continue to not keep your word, you will become untrustworthy. By keeping your words, you will become more reliable. You'll strengthen the reliable parts of your brain if you don't. If you do, yes. So if you don't keep your word, your brain is going to become weaker. You're going to have cognitive dissonance. You're going to become emotional. You know, the emotion releases the cortisol. Cortisol goes to the prefrontal cortex, creates brain fog, and yeah. But you also know if you find yourself over promising, then you have a problem with saying the word no. And so what happens is you say yes, and then you don't show up, and now you look like an untrustworthy person. So you have to decide, do you want to be untrustworthy, or do you want to be the person that you say no 9 out of 10 times? Which one actually matches the real you? And just become extremely accustomed to saying no. And you can start by saying no at the grocery store. That when they ask you at a restaurant, do you want to upsize? Is no. You at Costco, Sam's Club, or something, they say you want samples. No, I don't. If you're at the car wash, hey, you want Armor All on your tires? No, I don't. So start small with your no's, build up that no circuitry, fire wire, and now you get that neural pathway to start saying no. And that's why you will find yourself no longer over promising. And Noah said, I learned again that when you keep your word, you stay in the executive function of your brain. When you don't keep your word, you're going to be emotional and in your amygdala. Yes, ma'am. And Lola said, if you don't mean it, then don't say it. By not keeping your words, you become unaccountable. That is 1000% correct. And because of today's live, I do believe, I'm going to noodle on it a little bit more, but I believe that I'm going to say 1 and 2. Hold yourself personally accountable and hold others personally accountable is number 1. And number 2 principle of real leadership is to keep your word. Because I think those two together are the reason why people are unaccountable. If I really think about it, that's what makes people unaccountable. And that's why they do what they do. That's how the credit and blame shows up in the unaccountable people's lives. All right, cool. Great live today. Awesome. Thank yourselves for taking the time out to put yourselves first today, to learn more about how your brain functions, to learn more about neuropability and the principles of real leadership and why they will change the adult populations. Follow through. Don't overcommit. Yes, ma'am. Do not overcommit. Don't do it. And make sure that you have a system to track what you're doing. Nola has 3 calendars that she's now maintaining to ensure that she doesn't double book appointments, that everything, her expenses are being paid on time, and all of those things are on her calendar so that she knows what to do. You have to become extremely organized in order to keep your word. So a disorganized, dysfunctional person is never going to keep their word, because that amygdala is going to be hijacked. And every time you don't keep your word, remember, as Nola just said, amygdala, cortisol, emotion, and then you just find yourself being a hot ass mess. So don't do that. Don't overcommit. Calendarize. Ooh, I said that. That's a Frito-Lay term. Put everything on a calendar, track it, review it every single day, and that will allow you to keep your word. Don't overcommit. 9 out of 10 times. 9 out of 10 times you're saying no, so that the one time you say yes, you can actually do it. I have a lot more. I wrote it all down as I listened to the live. Yes, ma'am. So use it. Create that fire wire, and you're going to start keeping your word, and you're going to be on your way to being able to do more of what you say and not have to avoid what you don't want to do. Because you say yes, and now you're like, I got to go do this. No, you don't. Fully functioning, able bodied adults have the ability, everybody has 86 billion neurons. So they can wire their brain to get the shit done that they need to get done. You're not responsible for them, they are. Okay? All right. So thank you again for attending today. Thank yourself. Give yourself, you should have gotten a lot of nice internal dopamine releases, especially if you are taking notes and you're going to apply what I'm saying. You will find that you have this sustained flow of dopamine. Think of it as Niagara Falls or a nice little river or lake somewhere, and it's just flowing and flowing and flowing. My pleasure, flowing all over the place. And now you just have this great existence independent of some external stimuli. I'm thirsty. That's great. Get your water. I'm thirsty too. Now you see what I'm saying. You start using your brain. You're like, I was just sitting here learning. Why am I so thirsty? Because that brain, all of it, you think about how many connections are happening, all that movement. Yes, that's going to create dehydration. And so you need to be thirsty. And so drink. All right. God willing, higher power in the universe. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. If I have time, yes. Well, the brain is 75% water. And so you have to stay hydrated for your brain. That's what it actually is for. A neurologist on TikTok taught me that, Dr. Bing. So that's why you end up drinking so much water, because the brain needs it, especially if you're actually using it. Think of it as a mental workout all day long. So I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wired Wednesday. I potentially am going to be going over the the neural construction zones. I might wait until next week because of making sure that I have different information, more palatable information. So it may take me a little bit more time to actually get that going, because I received feedback that it was still too high of a level to totally get. So if not, no matter what, we will be doing Wired Wednesday tomorrow. You all go off again and have a great rest of your day, a terrific Tuesday, and a brain-tastic day. Adios, and take care.